around so that we can see you with the bat mitzvah stool in place.
It's not the bat mitzvah stool, it's the Saphire step. So maybe you haven't noticed, but every year I preach on the Shabbat. For how many of you, why is that the reason you come? Just kidding. I totally win. So I start the sermon the same way with these same exact words every Shabbat Shuvah. I love preaching on Shabbat Shuvah. As we mentioned, this is the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And this is when rabbis are supposed to give the longest sermon of the year. I promise I won't do that, and that's not the reason why I love preaching on this Shabbat. And you can probably imagine that some rabbis grumble when given the task of preaching on this Shabbat because they have so many other high holy day sermons to write. Well, that is not the case either. I love preaching on Shabbat Shuvah because I have this tradition around it, and I find it meaningful. I hope you do too. I like to search all year for a story that just speaks to me, Shabbat Shuvah. Like it's the most perfect story for this precious time, these holy days. Usually the story speaks for itself. It doesn't speak for itself, it's not good enough for Shabbat Shuvah. So about 4 months ago, I thought I had found the story for Shabbat Shuvah until about a month ago. Is Julie Kreis here? She's not here. Julie Kreis sent me this story, and it won the award for Shabbat Shuvah story 5780. So I encourage you, you can be on my side. You can maybe even make me like preaching on Shabbat Shuvah even more if you want to start looking for stories as well. Feel free to send them to me. Maybe you will win out for Shabbat Shuvah 5781. So here's the story for this year. A group of tourists spent hours one Saturday night looking for a missing woman. They were near Iceland's Elja Canyon. The group was traveling through Iceland on a tour bus and stopped near this volcanic canyon. Soon there was word that one of the passengers had gone missing. I can imagine the fear of the fellow tourists having to search for this woman they had just gotten to know near a rocky canyon as the sun set and as the sky became dark. But fortunately, the search was called off at 3 a.m. when it became clear that the missing woman was in fact accounted for and searching for herself. Let me say that again. She was lost and searching for herself. You might ask how such an absurd thing could happen. Let me clear it up with a few details, and then we'll get back to the point. This mix-up apparently occurred when the woman broke off from the group and changed her clothes. She returned to the bus in this different outfit, and the rest of the tour group did not recognize her. They sent for a Coast Guard helicopter, and a serious search mission ensued. When a description of this missing person was offered, ironically, the woman did not recognize the description of herself, and she began to also aid in the search efforts. Yes, it's a true story, confirmed by several news sources. Self, where are you? Rabbi Mark Gilman writes, "The shortest questions are the best ones." And the shortest question in the Torah is, remarkably, God's first question. Adam and Eve eat from the forbidden tree, and sensing God's presence in the Garden of Eden, they hide among the trees. While they are hiding, God asks Adam a one-word question. In Hebrew, that word is ayeka. In English, it simply means, where are you? I see Rabbi Sissimine looking to where it is on our benches. It's the first Hebrew word here to my left. How, we have every right to ask, is it that the God of the universe, the one who speaks and the world comes into being, the one who sets the stars in their place and the sun on its course, the God of all vision, how can it be that such a God has to ask Adam where he is? Our sages taught that God asks this question of Adam so that Adam has an opportunity to reflect on his behavior. It's like the way our parents called us by our middle name when they were angry with us. At least mine did. The only reason for middle names to exist, I used to think, is to give our parents a way of letting us know that our life, as we have lived it and known it up to that point, is almost over because of something we did or broke or said. For when you hear your parents call you by your middle name, it is a sign, and I'd like to think I was always smart enough to get the hint, to think about what we've done, to find ourselves in that moment and make it better. Rabbi Shneur Zalman taught, in every era, God asks every person, where are you in your life? So many years and days you have been given, but how far have you gotten in your life? God says something like this: you have lived 46 years, but really, how far along are you? Rav Shneur Zalman understood that God did not need to ask Adam where he was. It was Adam who needed to ask himself, where am I? And God does not need to ask each one of us, Ayeka. It is we who need to ask ourselves. The High Holy Days are the season of Ayeka, the time when we are asked to render a spiritual accounting. So maybe this is to all say that there comes a time each year, hopefully it won't take a Coast Guard search party or God shouting, but there comes a time each year when we need to ask ourselves, self, truly, where am I? I pray too that we will find ourselves accounted for, check in on where we are going, and move forward with clarity and a sense of newfoundedness. And if we do not find ourselves right away, may the search be meaningful. Ayeka, may this question and our answers create the agenda for our work in this year ahead. Ken Yiratzon, may this be.